Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. And remember, if you need a roof, new roofing company name announced any day now. And you got a little hint. If you follow Ryan Terrio on social media, you got a little hint last evening. Okay, Restored Motions .com. As a matter of fact, as soon as I'm done here, going to drop off Drew at school and then going to see Crystal at Restored Motions because uh, about a week and a half ago, I tweaked my back. Was supposed to see Crystal last Thursday. She was sick, and so bumped it to today. So I am very, very, very anxious to go uh, get fixed. All right, glad to have you aboard with us here. It is NFL Draft Day, round one. Um, I love the draft. Say it all the time. It is. I I know that it's not everybody's favorite event, but I love the pursuit of the opportunity to change your franchise, and that's what the NFL draft is. You know, the Saints were mired in back to back to back 7 and 9 seasons, and then the 2017 draft happened and they picked Ramchick, and they picked Lattimore, and they picked Marcus Williams, and they picked Trey Hendrickson and Alvin Kamara, and just like that, you were a contender because you drafted 5 starters on in one draft. So, um, the Cincinnati Bengals were the Cincinnati Bungles, and then they draft Joe Burrow, and 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl. So, the Seattle Seahawks weren't much of a franchise for much of their history, and they picked Russell Wilson in round 3, and 2 years later, they're in back-to-back Super Bowls. So in any event, I love the draft because of, the optimism that surrounds the draft, the opportunity that surrounds the draft. So, I love today, and I love the draft, and, looking forward to seeing where Jaden goes. My assumption is Jaden is gonna go number 2 overall. I'll check the latest odds here as we start draft day. We all know Caleb Williams is going 1. While the Bears haven't announced it, they have, certainly made up their mind that that's what they're going to do. So, you know, the, Jaden is now minus 1,000 to go with the number 2 pick, so those odds dramatically changed overnight. So, Jaden's gonna be your number 2 pick. He'll go to Washington. It gets interesting at pick number 3. JJ McCarthy, his odds have gone up to plus 190. Drake May minus 240. But it was interesting. Uh, it, Otter on Otterlocks yesterday gave out McCarthy under 5.5. Draft slot. Let me he'll go after pick 5, which if the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, Marvin Harrison goes 4. And if the Chargers stay in that pick and select someone at 5, then you're good. Then the draft really starts. And Malik Neighbors likely goes 6 to the Giants, and then we'll see what happens with Tennessee at 7 and Atlanta at 8. So, all right, y'all. I'm excited about it. We did of course learn on Thursday that James Hurst from the New Orleans Saints is retiring. Salute to James Hurst. What a great career for a guy that was an undrafted free agent out of North Carolina, became the left tackle for the Baltimore Ravens. They thought his career was done after 2019, came to New Orleans and ended up starting 51 games over 4 years. So, hat tip to that guy, but it leaves the Saints in an even tougher spot now with respect to the draft. So, and the offensive line. So, I mean, you're definitely taking a pick, a lineman with your first pick. The only question is, are you taking 2 offensive linemen in this draft, and or even in addition to that, are you signing another free agent? So, um, you've already signed Oli Udoh and as a free agent, so that's one free agent that you've added. But you're probably going to need your whatever this pick is today, and another one somewhere along the way, in hopes that Trevor Penning and Nick Saldiveri develop into something serviceable. So, it'll be interesting to see, man. It always is with the draft. Of course, we'll be at Don Juan tonight for our draft party. We invite anybody to come on out. Don Juan in Town Center. As soon as AFR ends, we're jetting over to Don Juan, so we'll be there from start of the draft until it ends. So come hang out with us tonight, Don Juan. If you can't be at Don Juan, we'll be streaming the show live on the Watch 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. All right, let's say some mornings. Fire away. Charles, good morning. Chris P, good morning. Bubba, Matt, do we see the usual aggression from the Saints move up, do something unexpected today, or will they take the picks as they're slotted? Yeah, Bubba, the only way today in round one, the only way that I see the Saints moving up today is if they feel like Joe Alt is this like transcendent offensive lineman. Like he's so much better than anybody else. Like if they think Joe Alt is the second best player in the draft, something like that, and Alt slips to like 8, 9, 10, like all the quarterbacks go, the receivers start to go, and Joe Alt's still on the board at like 8, 9, 10. Maybe they move up to take him. I don't know that I believe that's the case. And it certainly seems like from everybody, you believe all the draft experts and analysts that, there's this sort of clump of the four or five best offensive linemen in this draft that are all kind of, the difference among the 4 or 5 of them is kind of negligible. So I think you stay at 14 and you draft the player the best player that's available to you at 14. Hey, Bill Caffey. Got to meet Bill yesterday at the tap room. Um, hey, Matt, let's see. Nice meeting you at the tap room. Hope y'all enjoyed Nate as much as we did. Wish I could listen longer, but got to run off some lights and do my own launch. That is a reference to a part of Nate Bargatze's skit. Very well done. So I got to meet Bill and Richie Burt, who came over yesterday. Bill's there in Lafayette. Richie is in Baton Rouge and drove over to Lafayette. So they were kind enough to come hang out at the tap room yesterday for a bit. So love getting to do shows like that. Love getting to meet the Morning Sconers and AFR listeners. So appreciate y'all so much for coming out, man. Wendell, good morning. Bailey C, is this DA's last season? Idakar is here to stay contractually. I think so, Bailey. I think this is another sub 500 season where they missed the playoffs in 4 straight years of missing the playoffs. In all 3 years of missing the playoffs under DA, I do think this is it. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Gary, good morning, Uncle Scone. I wanted to touch on a comment you mentioned yesterday about the latest running back who's committed to LSU. Will you say he's similar to Trendon Holiday? So are you talking about JT Lindsay, I would assume, out of Ash, who committed last week? Um, so remember, Trendon was like 5'5". Uh, JT Lindsay is 5'8", 185. Trendon was like 5'5", 150. So I don't think we're ever going to see anybody quite like Trendon again. I mean, quite not, that small of stature with elite level, like Olympic level track speed. So, and the fact that he's a smaller fastback, sure. Trendon, not that small and fast. Hey, Matt, good morning. Casey Smith, draft day. Jesse Brown, draft night. Ready to see what the Saints are going to do. Hunter, good morning. Good win by the Heat last night. Yeah, y'all notice I am avoiding talking about the Pelicans game. They got absolutely blasted. Thankfully, I didn't watch it because I was at the Nate Bargatze show. But we got out of the show and I checked the score and I was like, oh my God, 124-92. Thank God I missed that one last night. What an abomination. Shea at 33, Chet Holmgren at 26. I mean, you got no bench production. Najee had 10, Larry Nance had 2. Jeremiah Robinson Earl had 2, and that's it. He had 14 points off the bench. 14 points off the bench. Oh my God. Anyway, whatever. That series is over. The Pels stink at home. I don't expect them to win both games in New Orleans. Maybe they can push it to 5, but yeah, that's over. Damon Gilmore. Matt, Any Day Now Roofing. The name of the company is not Any Day Now Roofing. I am just letting you know that any day now we will be able to announce the name of the new roofing company. We're just waiting on the website to be live and finished and all that sort of stuff, and all the licenses and certifications are completed and everything like that. So, but any day now. Brett, good morning. Sorry I couldn't make it to the tap room. Reggie got his Heisman back. Brett, I was looking for you, man. But all good. Understand things happen. But yeah, I'm Good for Reggie Bush. I think that happened yesterday while we are on the show, which ended abruptly yesterday when I reached over here and knocked over my coffee. You'll be happy to know that my coffee is not over here today. It's right here where it normally is, well away from my soundboard and my computer, so I can reach and sip and put out of harm's way. Let's see. Cajun Country morning. Hope Nate came through for y'all last night. Not optimistic about the Saints draft tonight. Pels blew it. Typical Nola fan. Man, Sean, I was hoping I get to see you yesterday, man, in Lafayette. All good though. Nate was great. We after AFR, we stayed at the tap room for a bit. Had a little dinner and then went over to the show. So we walked in right at about 8 o'clock. And he went on at 8:15 and he did an hour set. He was on from 8:15 to 9:15. So the good thing is that it didn't end too late, so we were able to get home at a reasonable hour, but we ended up sitting in the parking lot for, I don't know, 40 minutes or so, before we could even get out of the parking lot. So it did delay I didn't get to bed last night till about 12:30. So it's a little slow today, but we'll pick it up. Bart, good morning. Tiger Diver, good morning. Kerry Hughes, good morning. Hope the Vikings draft the defensive back with the final pick in round one. That is a reference to Lewis Sign. Jimmy has an inordinate amount of draft day bets, and one of them was the number of defensive back 2 years ago, the number of defensive backs taken, and he had the over. And so they were up to the 32nd pick, and everybody thought that Minnesota at 32 was going to take Malik Willis. And they ended up taking Lewis Sign, a safety out of Georgia. So odds bet hit. And it was the live on stream celebration was beautiful. Hang on one second, y'all. I need to go give Drew his meds. 1 second. My apologies. Okay. My apologies. All right, please smash the like button if you're there on YouTube. Subscribe up to the channel. Hey, Bubba, good morning. Jason, what's good? New avatar, I see. Make defense great again. Hate that Jaden has to go to Washington. He deserves better. So I disagree. Like, I don't think Washington's a terrible spot. And I've talked about this for a couple of reasons. Number one, first of all, if you go to Chicago, this is probably Matt Eberflus's last year. So Caleb Williams is probably going to have a second head coach OC combo in his second year in the NFL. So he's not going to have that consistency. Washington just hired Dan Quinn. I also love the fact that you have a defensive minded head coach because he's going to make sure you have a really good, like at least a solid defense. So not everything is going to be on the on the quarterback, and you're probably going to be able to build stability. Remember, Washington hired Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator, and as much as people clown on Cliff Kingsbury, his offenses and teams in Arizona were good up until you know uh, Kyler was struggling and tore his ACL, and then it fell apart. So I think Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator, offensive play caller, is just fine. And they have Terry McLaurin there. I would love to see them if they draft Jaden Chu that get him a little more help in this draft. But I think there are far like I think New England would be a terrible situation. There is no offensive talent on that team. There's no talent on that roster, period. Um, I mean, Chicago, they have DJ Moore and they traded for Keenan Allen. So you have a couple of wide receivers there in Chicago. But again, I think the continuity is going to be tough there. Playing in that weather is tough. Um, so I actually don't hate the Washington situation altogether. I think Minnesota would be dramatically better if that could happen, but it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. I mean, look, there isn't an ideal situation when you're at the top of the draft because usually if you're going to the top of the draft, you're going to a team that stinks. That's why they're at the top of the draft. I mean, Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati, and then year two, he was in the Super Bowl behind a sieve of an offensive line that got his knee exploded in his rookie season. So there's no great situation, but I don't think Washington is as bad as we're painting it. There's new ownership in Washington. Um, I mean, Dan Quinn was Dan Quinn was 28-3 away from from being a Super Bowl winning head coach, you know? So now they blew it, but I think a large part that's Shanahan, for not sitting on the ball. We're on a little clock, but and you got goaded by the goat. But I think you could do far, far worse, man, than Washington. That's not a terrible situation. Hey, Jerry, good morning. Gary, good morning. Get that back straight. Let's get some great players in the draft. I'm with you, man. Hey, Barry, good morning. Jerry, something positive we could talk about. Patrick, good morning. How's Bargetzi jealous? Hashtag shoe game. He was great, man. Some of the set, if you get a lot of Nate's content on social media, if you've seen his specials, some of the content, some of the jokes were you will have known. Um, I won't ruin it, but uh, the county fair bit, he did that. He did the grandmothers uh, at the door bit, but other than that, it was all stuff I hadn't heard, and it was great. It was really great. Von Bluesman, Robert Mason, more Matt O line for the Saints, no doubt. Uh, Daniel, Saints Chargers trade possible. Daniel, Mickey Loomis, the one thing he did say when he met with reporters on Tuesday is that he couldn't really see them going up higher than 8 if they were going to move up from 14. So that kind of feels like the spot. And I don't know that Atlanta's going to do a deal with New Orleans, but 8 feels like. I mean, Mickey Loomis said it, and maybe just gamesmanship, and it may be a smokescreen. It may be, but I mean, the GM said they probably wouldn't move up higher than 8. So we'll see. Hey, Deborah, good morning. Hunter, good morning. Jerry, good morning. Looking forward to seeing everyone at Don Juan's. Looking forward to seeing you, man. Jerry's one of those dudes who you got to know Jerry a lot over the years. Come out to Don Juan for whiskey and wine. When we're doing scone and tea, I just got to know Jerry over the years. But it's kind of a bummer because Jerry lives. Well, I don't need to tell people where you live. Let's just say Jerry lives along I-12, a little farther east than Baton Rouge. But uh, uh, football season ends and we don't get to see everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing all our peeps that come out. Hopefully everybody that usually comes to Don Juan. I mean, again, it's a Thursday night. It's not a Saturday for a football game, but looking forward to seeing everybody tonight, man. Hopefully y'all can make it. Where are we? Timothy Fontenot, good morning. Eli, good morning. As things stand now, with Penning, Saldivari, McCord, Ruiz, Young, is it fair to say the Saints have the worst offensive line in the league? Yes. Um, he said, obviously, it's a formality. They're taking a tackle. Yes. Now, you omitted Ramchick, and I think we're all, hesitant on Ramchick now and understand that. Um, remember, they did sign Oliudo uh, in free agency, who has been a starter. So that's a guy that could slot in at one of the guard spots. He's always got to go win a spot, right? But they have Oliudo as well. I don't think Landon Young is going to be a starter on this team, but he could make the team as a swing tackle. But yes, you're taking offensive tackle at 14, and if they do anything other than that, they should just shut down the franchise. What are you doing if you do anything other than offensive tackle? Jason Walker, good morning. Jerry Abner, good morning. Brent, good morning. I know this will likely not happen with Loomis, but I would like to see the Saints trade back a few spots in the first round, pick up an extra draft spot or two in either the second, third, or fourth. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Brent. And honestly, Brent, I disagree with you. There's a lot of times I would be in favor of more draft capital, but the Saints have 9 picks in this year's draft. They are not making 9 selections. There's no point in making 9 selections because you're not gonna draft 9 players that are gonna make this team. You don't have 9 roster spots available with your final 53. So there's no sense in drafting 9 players. What I'd rather you do is draft 5 or 6 that you're bullish on, that you're confident can make your team and be starters. Replicate the 2017 draft. Um, take an offensive tackle in round 1, take a receiver in round 2, package some picks, move up into round 3, and get a safety or an interior defensive lineman. Get players that are going to make your team and potentially be starters, and are going to make you better. But I disagree with you. There's too giant of a need at tackle in this draft, which is too deep at tackle, and you're gonna have an option at 14 to pick a great player at your greatest position of need. So in another year, I might agree with you, but in this year, I flatly disagree. You stay there at 14 and you pick the best offensive lineman that's on the board. Don't overthink it. Jay Borden, my friend Michael, morning, Matt. Just finished my first college final of the semester. Okay, go Tigers, go JD. Good luck, Michael. Good luck on finals, man. I hope it goes great for you. Study hard, work hard, all that good stuff, man. All right, I only got about 3 more minutes here. Rocky, who are the first 5 players off the board in your opinion? I think the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. Williams, Daniels, May. Um, I do think that Marvin Harrison will go forward to Arizona, and I think because I think that, look, you have $200 million invested in Kyler Murray. Go get him a weapon. So I think Marvin Harrison will go 4. And I tend to think, listen, Jim Harbaugh, although he played quarterback, is a line of scrimmage coach. He was a line of scrimmage coach with the Niners. He certainly was a line of scrimmage coach with Michigan. I think he's going to take Joe Alt. Like, I think they're going to sit there at 5, and unless he gets an offer that you just cannot turn down, I think they take Joe Alt at 5. Um, and then the draft really starts after that. Can Minnesota come up to 6 to trade with the Giants? Do the Giants take Neighbors? Do they take a quarterback? I think maybe more likely the Giants take Malik Neighbors at 6, and then Tennessee at 7 potentially is the spot where Minnesota trades up to get JJ McCarthy. Minnesota at 7 or Atlanta at 8, I think, is where Minnesota likely moves up. Craig, I pulled my name out of the draft, decided to stay home and give my services to Louisiana Voodoo Arena football team. Not signed with them, but service are available if needed. Got it. I don't know that the Voodoo are still around, Craig. I don't think the Arena League is still a thing in New Orleans. Uh, Daniel, let's see. Make defense great again. It would be malpractice if the Bengals let Trey Hendrickson walk away. They've got to pay that guy. Yeah. I mean, the Saints made the mistake in letting him walk, and it would be interesting if the Bengals did it too, but you commit a $500 million to your quarterback, you got to pay Jamar Chase. It goes back to the thing, man. You can't pay everybody. You got to pay T. Higgins, or are you going to, you can't pay everybody. It's why your window shrinks and you got to draft consistently. But I'm with you. I mean, if the Bengals won't pay Trey Hendrickson, somebody will. Jim, good morning. Michael, Brett, good morning. Patrick, Trivia, what up? Bob Poole, Bailey. If you ever if you're ever hard on yourself, remember the Broncos front office gave up everything to get Russell Wilson. But you know what, Bailey? Yeah, and look, clearly that's going to go down as one of the worst trades in the NFL history. But I don't hate it. Like they went for it. Now they whiffed, and maybe they didn't do their due diligence on Russ and how he was in the locker room, whatever. But they went for it, man. Like they did the same thing with Peyton Manning, and they knocked it out of the park. Went to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. I mean, I'd rather that and miss than the Saints approach of let's see if we can get by with mid-level quarterbacks who might be able to strike gold and take us to the Super Bowl. Like, go get me a dude. Uh, Brand. Oh, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta go. Jerry Musso commented on Twitter. He wishes they would announce the 6th man of the year earlier in the show. I told him they did it at 4:20. He was busy doing something else. Jerry, you're always good for a 4:20 joke on news. All right, I gotta go. I gotta tell my dad good morning though. Hey, Dad, good morning. I'm sorry for everybody I missed, but I gotta bounce. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. Craig, Brett, and Bill all said the Voodoo are in Lafayette. Now I had no idea. Okay. Good to know. I'll be sure to never catch one of their games. But that is still a pretty sweet name. The Voodoo is awesome. But New Orleans Voodoo is way better than Lafayette Voodoo. Okay, I gotta go. Thanks so much for watching. Y'all smash the like button, subscribe up to the channel, Facebook, like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. Happy draft day, everybody. Because I was in Lafayette last night for Nate Bargatze, I did not get LSU Daily recorded last night, so my apologies on that. I'll try to get it done this morning after I go see Crystal Poche. And we'll see you for AFR 3 and the draft party tonight. Peace.